Hello and welcome to this video. So what I want to do in this video is to create this particular VI that you can see. And so what you have in here really, I'll just simply run it. Think of this as a process system. So once I run it, first of all, tank 1 starts filling up. Once it fills up, then this starts flowing into tank 2, and then the whole program runs to the end. Now this is that just is represent a process, and really I'm making this video to show how a flat sequence works. So let me go ahead and create a new blank VI. Create a new blank VI, and let's just go ahead and create the functionality behind this. Now I need 2 tanks, so I'll go to numeric on my front panel and put 1 tank there, and I'll put a second tank down here. Now with LabVIEW, you actually have to be quite creative, particularly when trying to draw some things, because it's not a graphics design tool per se, but then it is very powerful in terms of graphics. Now I'll right click on this and I'll just simply say that it should not display, let's see, I think that should be under scale, style, and I take off all that graduation, so it actually just looks like a tank without a value there. But take note, it goes from 0 to 10. I know it goes from 0 to 10. I'll use that information later on. Scale, style, and that. Now to create something that will look like a pipe from this tank to that tank. So to create something that looks like a pipe from one tank to another, okay, let me try to make this the same size. It just occurred to me that by resizing them, they look different. It might look weird. So I could come to numeric, and there doesn't seem to be anything one can use directly, but let me go ahead and choose horizontal fill slide or horizontal progress bar. I could use either of the 2 of them. Let's use horizontal progress bar. Now I can place that over here so it looks like a pipe that comes to this point. I'll right click on this and take off the label. I'll go ahead and create another horizontal progress bar, say somewhere over here. I'll just resize that so that it gets to, say, this point. I'll resize this one as well and remove this label, and then I'll now pick a vertical progress bar and put that over here. Yes, I know some things are overlapping, but all of that is not really an issue right now. I can also remove the label from this. Let me remove the label from that. So our front panel is more or less set up. Notice these are progress bars, and so you can literally fill them or not fill them, so that, we can use that information later on. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I will fill tank 1. I'll fill tank 1. After filling tank 1, I will go ahead and empty tank 1 while filling up tank 2. And then I will now empty these slides over here. So what I'm going to do is come up with I'll go to structures, flat sequence, and draw it around tank 1, because that's what will be inside my first sequence. Then I'll right click on the body of the flat sequence and say add frame after. Now I want to bring all these things into this frame, because these 2 things will happen at the same time. Now I should actually just mention this VI will be slightly different from the one I just demoed, but then it will function in approximately the same way. And add one more frame after. I'll populate this frame later on. For now, let me concentrate on the first 2 frames. So first of all, I want to fill this first tank. So inside here, I'll create a while loop. Create a while loop in here and put a shift register on it. Let me reduce this size a little bit. I'll put a shift register on this. At the outside of a shift register, I'll create a constant. Outside of a shift register, okay, doesn't want me to create one. Okay, so I'll wire this in here. Now it should allow me to create a constant. If it doesn't, I'll just create one myself. Okay, so right click on this, numeric constant. 0 is what I want it to be. Okay, so that is fine. That is fine. So what I want to do in here is, I want each time this loop runs, it will increment the value until the value gets to that maximum of 10. Once that happens, then I want it to exit this loop. Once it exits this loop, so the way a flat sequence works is that it does everything inside this frame. Once it is done with this frame, it goes to the next frame, does everything in here, When it is done, it now goes to the next frame and does everything in here. So inside this first frame, I'm putting a while loop. So when the while loop completes, then it will have finished everything inside this first frame, and then it will go to the second frame. So in here, I need to come to numeric increments. What I want to do in here is to just increment this value every time this loop runs. Let me put a delay in the loop so that it won't run too quickly. Say I'll let this run every, okay, let me put this up there so that it doesn't disturb me. Create a constant and let this run every 200 milliseconds, that's every 0.2 seconds. And then I want this to keep on running as long as this value does not exceed 10. So when it gets to 10, when the value here is 10, the value here will be 11, or let's say the value here is 10. When it gets to 10, I want it to stop. So let's say greater. Okay, no, I don't want to use greater. I want to use greater than or equal to. Comparison. Where is it? Greater or equal? Okay, so greater or equal. I bring this wire this here. Create a constant here, and the value I'm interested in is 10. If it's greater than or equal to, then I wire that to this point. So this first loop is really done. Other loops are not yet done, but I could go ahead and run this just to see how it runs. And that's it. Okay, it executed second frame and third frame, but since nothing is happening in here, everything seems to be fine. Now, I'll do one more thing in here, and that is just to make sure that whenever I start running this program, that it actually looks the way I want it to look. So when I start running the program, what I want is I want this tank to fill first. I want this pipe to be empty, this pipe to be empty, this tank to be empty. So I'm going to right click on this slide, create, I'll go to property node and value. So I want to deal with the property of this particular node. I want to pick the value property of this particular node. I'll right click on this, change it to a write because I want to write to the value. What I want to write to this value is a 0, so that whenever I am in this frame, okay, so I want this to be 0. 38 is the actual value that is in there at present, but really I want it to be 0. So I want to write 0 to it, so that whenever I am in this frame, this pipe will always show empty. So let me go ahead and just run that. Notice that that pipe shows empty. Okay, so I'll do the same thing for all these other nodes that we have over here. Value, I'll place it in here, change it to a write. I'll just delete that connection between them because I don't need that. And then for the third slide, I'll do the same thing, create a property node, value, and I'll make this, change this to a write, and I'll write that same value in here. Now I'm sorry the diagram looks a little messy, but we can clean that up later if we want. Value for the tank as well, I'll just put that up here because I'm running out. Oh, let me create some more space for myself down here so that everything is down here. Okay, I'll change that also to a write and wire that to that 0 value. So now once I run this, in this first frame, definitely everything else will be empty. Why can I see? Okay, so yeah, everything is empty over there. Notice that these pipes have like a blue line at the extreme left, but then, well, that's that. One option you could also do is to pick a property node of this and select what color you want to be in there. I mean, you could select several things in the housing colors, slider colors. So you could change all those things as you wish using property nodes. So I'm done with the first frame. Let's now come to the second frame. When I'm in the second frame, again, I can use property nodes for this, but I could also just simply use, since the nodes, I place them in here directly, I could just wire them directly in here. Now, what I want is that whenever I'm in this particular, frame, I want the pipes to look as if they are full. So I want the slides to all look as if they are full. So I'm going to create a constant, a numeric constant, place it down here. I'll give it a large value, let's say 100. I'm just going to wire this to all of these slides, and the whole purpose, like I said, is to just make sure they are full once I enter this second frame. And then I will copy this particular loop and paste it in this second frame because I want to use much of what is inside of it. Now that created a third tank which I'm not interested in, so I'll delete that tank and bring in my tank 2 in there and wire it in its stead. Okay, so by being a little lazy, what I have done is that I have effectively just used the same program I have in here, and this tank will now start incrementing. So there's one thing that is left to do, and that is to decrement the first tank while I am incrementing this tank. So I'll right click on this node and create a property node, value, and also change it to a write. And what I'm going to do, the value I will write into this will be, let me see, subtract. So what I'm going to write into this, I'm going to subtract whatever value is in here. I'll subtract it from the maximum value. Maximum value is 10. So I'll subtract that from it. Okay, let me create, I want, even though this really isn't necessary anymore, but then all the same, let me initialize it. Okay, so I'm going to create a constant here, 10, and we're just about done, almost done really with this program. So I could go ahead and run this. If I run this, you notice that that increments and then this fills. So one last thing, this pipe remains full even after this has finished incrementing. So in this third frame, all I'm just simply going to do is to empty this pipe and then we're done. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'll right click on this, once again create a property node value, place that in here, change it to a write. I'll write the value where you create a constant, write the value 0 to it, and then I'll create property nodes for the other two, and that will be just about it. The value here, change to a write, create property node, value, change it to write, wire this together. Okay, so we can see it. So wire them together and we're done. So we're done. Now we have our process that seems to run in the way we want it to run. The rest we can just do really at this point is just now some cosmetics. For example, I could take this particular guy, drag it a little more that way, take this one also, this horizontal one over here. I'm trying to get the edge. Okay, then move this away just for a moment and expand this to that point. Now bring this one back. Now the reason why I did all of that, now right click on or click on that, select it, and then bring it to move forward. No, move to the front. Actually, I want it to be in front, and then this one also, I could place this tank also in front. Let me select this tank and place it, move to front. So the whole idea is that you can actually mask some things and maybe hide some things by just placing them behind other things. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and just run this once again, and this will be about the end. Okay, so this is a simple process, and it has illustrated how one can make use of a flat sequence in LabVIEW while also making use of property nodes here within LabVIEW. Thank you.